We are here, and it is right now. It is the UFC RotoWire Fight IQ 315 pay-per-view podcast preview. Here to break down every fight on a double title fight card pay-per-view, starting with Belal Muhammad versus Jack Della Maddalena, and being preceded by the flyweight champion Valentina Shevchenko taking on Manon Fiorot. It is the same group you are accustomed to. This week, I am here, of course, with me as always, Sun Tzu, Joe, and Drake. Never a burden to us. Fellas, we're going to break down every fight on this card. And Drake and I were talking a little bit before coming on the air. They gave us a lot of sizzle with these two title fights, but not a ton of meat on this bone, just from a fan perspective. Definitely some intriguing fights. And, this is kind of a throwback for me in a sense where I do like quite a few dogs here. Not going to say where they are exactly, but I do find the card intriguing in that sense, but not so much in terms of intriguing, exciting matchups. But let me see what you guys think. And I'll throw it to you first, Joe. How are you seeing this fight card? Are you excited, DraftKings-wise, betting-wise, or otherwise?
Honestly, it's kind of disappointing. I mean, yeah, the two title fights, but like instead of trying to get Canadians fights, like how about like just building a good card?
Yeah.
Right. I mean, I get it. I get it that you want to have some local color, but why not just add a couple fights and put these Canadians in those extra fights? And what are we at 12 fights now, or is it 11? I don't even.
It's 12 because
Saint Denis got a new. Yeah, I mean, and then they drag some guy off the couch. Like again, I know he's not quite that, but I mean, and he's never been knocked out. He's been submitted a couple times, but like, come on. I mean, now you've got a guy that's like what, minus 1200, like Saint Denis, because he happens to speak French. I mean, that fight either should have been postponed or they should have come up with the better opponent rather than pulling some like random Canadian off a couch to go fight this guy. So yeah, it's kind of disappointing. The title fight is interesting, and I'm with you. There's a couple of dogs that I like. Including one in the main or co-main that I like. And other than that, though, it's really disappointing for a pay-per-view card, in Montreal.
Yeah, 100%. And, Drake and I were talking about that too, where it was like, are they going to leave it at 11? Or are they going to go to 12? I guess they really wanted that 12 number. They kind of prioritize trying to get guys fights these days and keep them on schedule. So I guess there you have it. But Drake, otherwise, how do you feel about this card? And are you strategizing, or are you looking forward to it as a fan?
I'm looking forward to the main card.
Yeah, sure.
There's really, I mean, there's the second fight of the night. I'm actually really excited about John Young Lee and Daniel Santos. I think that might be a bit of a banger, a lot of fireworks in that fight. But other than that, there's not really a whole lot going on. There might be a lot of finishes on this card. Just given the pedigree of a lot of these guys and how their fights end. But, I mean, just name value, there's just not a lot there.
Yeah, there isn't. But like I said, I do think there are a couple of fights that are interesting. We will get to them. I do see a note here. It looks like Bruno Silva missed weight. And we should note also that I guess we would have gotten to it, but Jose Aldo with the big weight miss and that fight now at featherweight, I believe the first time Aldo's ever missed weight in his career. I think that's right. Hopefully not the forecasting the end of an era in more ways than one, being a big Aldo fan myself. But we'll talk about that more when we get to it. For now, we are going to move to the card, but I just want to say before we do, if you want to check out all our content on rotowire.com, baseball season on its way. We've got DFS optimizers for the NBA playoffs, football season starting up, get your leagues going there, all that content. You want 15% off everything, you go Roto15 at checkout. That's on any subscription, 15% off, Roto15 at checkout. And with that, we are going to move on to the card now. And the first fight of the night, it is Bekzat Amakhan at 8,600, taking on Brad Katona at 7,600. Line on this fight, Almacan minus 150, Katona plus 130. This is one of a dog line that I'm not sure I agree with. Not knocking down Umar Nurmagomedov in his fight, I guess maybe got him this line with the one big overhand that he threw. Got dominated most of that fight, and I think Katona can do a similar thing. I love the pace Katona puts on guys. He mixes his wrestling and striking really well. The one thing that I'm a little nervous for him with his fight is that he tends to stay in the pocket and eat shots after he's done with his offense. So he could get hit with something hard from there. But he's always been tough. I believe never been knocked out, but I can check on that. And I just like his style a whole lot. Bekzat is dangerous, but we haven't seen enough of him to justify this, I think. Katona, like I said, tough, ready to go, and always there to bring on the offense. So I'm going to stay with the dog in the first fight here. I'm picking Katona, but we will start this card off, I believe, with Drake. Drake, how do you see the curtain jerker here?
Oh, I love being opposite of you. It makes my day. Katona, I don't like Katona as a fighter. I really don't. He is so defenseless when he's in there. And don't get me wrong, guys that throw all caution to the wind are fun to watch. But man, against guys like Bekzat, Katona, I can see him getting knocked out in this fight. I really can. I like Almacan a lot going into this. I think his odds are too low. I think he should be closer to a full 2-1 or even a 3-1. But yeah, I really like Almacan in this spot.
Yeah, the defense is a worry, but if you can't get off your back, that's trouble. And I really just think the work rate is going to.
Katona is nowhere near the wrestler of Umar Nurmagomedov.
It's true,
not anywhere close.
But he's very, very strong, very physical, and I don't know. I think that can come through. But let's see what Joe thinks. Joe, how do you see the first?
Yeah, I'm on Katona all the way. This is a pure recency bias line on Hafez. I mean, I know people that actually got Katona at like plus 150, and now it's down to what, plus 120, which is I think where I got two words for you: Basil Hafez. When a fighter gets bet up or becomes a favorite in their next fight off of a loss, if you watch tape on this guy, he's been knocked down with regularity on the regional scene, right? He's been knocked down several times. I'm not saying Katona is the best fighter since actually Poutine, since we're in Canada. But like he has fought far better competition aside from Umar, which again, okay, I get it. He got a flash knockdown of Umar, and now all of a sudden he's a favorite in his first fight back. I don't like those. I don't like fighters that way, bet that way. I think this should probably be closer to even. I love the guys that got Katona at plus 150. To me, this is kind of a dog or pass thing. In DraftKings, I guess you could have parts of both sides. Katona is a Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu black belt as well. He's got a decent ground game. He's got good scrambles. Look, I think this could be an interesting fight. I would not be surprised if he took a hit and got knocked down either. But I just think all the line value is on Katona here, and that's my pick.
I will add in if Katona is more likely to control the pace of the fight, which could matter a lot. And in that case, I would side with Katona.
Yeah, control the pace, dictate the action for sure. Really provide a lot of the offense. I think if he doesn't get knocked out, he wins. I think it's that kind of binary. And so because I don't think that Bekzat can sustain offense for 15 minutes, but the knockout certainly can come, and we will see how that goes. But the next fight up is Daniel Santos at 8,300, taking on Jung Kung Lee at 7,900. Line on this fight, Lee can be had minus 145, Daniel Santos plus 125. And this fight is interesting to me. I wrote, and I would love Lee a lot more if he hadn't inexplicably tried to brawl with Hader Emil and get knocked out in his last fight. That's really worrying, especially in this fight, because Daniel Santos, I really do think it's more of a regional style of like, I'm going to march you down, I'm going to be physical, I'm going to throw a lot of volume, I've got some power, and we'll just see if you can stand up to it. And on paper, I think Lee should be able to do that. He's got a big reach advantage. He's very agile. I think he's going to be the more physical fighter here, but if he brawls, he's going to lose probably. And I still have to pick Lee just because I think everything else is in his favor. But I just got to cross my fingers and hope that he fights halfway smart. But we're going to go for it, and I'm picking Lee. But we will see what Joe thinks first. Joe, how you see the second fight here?
I'm going to actually cede this, my spot, to Drake, because he said this was a fight that he was interested in, and I'm not as interested in this fight as he is, so I will go after Drake.
Well, it is, I think, a banger as well, but very gracious of you, Joe. So, Drake, what do you see the second fight here?
I was actually on Santos in this fight until I started really digging into watching tape on both of these guys. And it's always, kind of risky to go with guys that come off of Road to UFC because they generally have not fought the best competition. But what I love about this kid is how active he is and how safe he is. If you go and watch his fights, it's like his IQ is extremely high. In a fight like this, aside from the meal fight, we'll just, we'll give him a pass on that one. If he does it again in this one, well, then I just throw it all out the door. But, he's got a huge advantage in this fight on the mat, and that 8-inch reach advantage is just massive. I mean, it really should not take much for him to be able to put Santos down and keep him there, submit him, whatever it is. I do think that we are going to see some exchanges, though. He has a guy that kind of is slowly falling in love with his hands like so many guys in the UFC do. But I really like Lee in this spot. I actually think this is probably a good fight to target for DFS as well, because I do think someone gets finished.
Yeah, I do too. I think, you really can't help it when Daniel Santos fights. That's just sort of the action that he brings, and that's sort of why I'm hesitant. But I do think Lee is the pick here. But Joe, I know that you're not very interested, but what is your pick in any case?
Well, so I do have some narrative to add because I'm the king of narrative. My concern here is all the fight cancellations by Daniel Santos. If you go to Topology and you look, how many of his last several fights, I mean, he has to be the most fight canceled fighter in the UFC over the past couple of years. I mean, going back, like, so why? Like, is his body broken down? Like, is he just like dealing with bad luck? Like, to me, that is a major red flag. I mean, is it a durability issue? Like, why? And we got a fight coming up that actually does interest me, despite how ugly it is, coming up, that I want to talk about. But like, I'm really concerned. The narrative here is really bad on Santos, and for all the points that you guys made. And for that reason, I'm going to pick Lee here as well.
Yeah, I think it's a play where you kind of have to take Lee, and then while still acknowledging that he can 100% get knocked out. It is just that kind of fight. And as Drake said, it's one of those where if you see it again, it's like, okay, you write him off forever. But in this case, I do think you got to give him one more shot. But we're going to move on to the next fight now, and it is Marc-Andre Barrio, 8,400, taking on Bruno Silva, 7,800. Just did mention the Silva weight miss there, and the line on this fight is Andre Barrio minus 160, Bruno Silva plus 140. I think this is a Bruno Silva knockout waiting to happen, especially when you consider how
undurable or two knockout.
Okay. Marc-Andre Barrio. I mean, especially when you consider, I don't think that's that crazy of a suggestion, especially when you consider just how fragile he's looked in the last couple of fights. Of course, got sort of insta knocked out in the last one against Dustin Stolfus. In fact, 7 significant strikes landed total in the last 2 fights. Of course, 0 there against Joe Pfeiffer. Barrios was always a guy who was come at you, nicknamed Power Bar, of course, come at you, really just sort of try to put you against the cage, sap out your energy, rough you up. And as his own durability goes away, I just don't think that's going to work anymore. Silva's always been athletic. He's always had a good jab. Even in the last fight against Ismail Nardiev there, where he couldn't really get his own offense going, he's good defensively. He sort of stayed out of clinch situations. And that's probably going to be enough here. I know that, it's easy to say that Silva just sort of lost it after the Weidman fight, and he's not really with it anymore. But I'll give him a pass for one, especially against a guy who's been less reliable than he has been, I think, for far longer now. So I'm going Bruno Silva here, and I think this time in earnest we will start with Joe. Joe, how do you see this one?
Yeah, so I definitely have some narrative on this fight. First of all, both of these guys are coming into this with pretty serious losing streaks. This could actually be a winner goes home type of fight if it's like really that bad a fight. Here's the issue, and this is why I'm going with Barrios. He is the most home fighter of all the Canadian fighters, if that makes sense. He is from the Quebec area. He's the local boy. I think he's going to have a lot of fan support. But above and beyond that, one of Silva's main issues is he deals with horrific anxiety. And not only does he deal with anxiety, he deals with anxiety in the ring. And he says that it hits him and it drains his energy. Both of these guys are like, their age. They don't have that many more fights left. He's going to be fighting the local boy in front of a home crowd. If everything doesn't go his way in the first round, I don't want to deal with a fighter who admittedly gets bad anxiety attacks in the middle of fights and is coming off of how many losses in a row? 5, 4? I mean, outside of Sam Alvey, like no one stays in the UFC off that many losses. So I don't love Barrios. I think this is kind of a garbage fight. I think if this was anywhere else but Montreal, like this fight would not have been made. But I'm going to go with the local guy here for all the reasons that I stated. I don't love it. I do think that there's a strong possibility for a finish here, which could make it a decent fight to play on DraftKings. But I'm going to take Barrios.
Yeah, I think it could be a finish too. I'm of course on the other side, but I don't know. I could just see Barrios marching in again and getting floored here. But Drake seemed taken aback by my suggestion that might happen. So let's hear it, Drake. Why is that incorrect?
Man, if there is a fighter that looks like he's past the back nine, it's Bruno Silva. He doesn't look like he wants to fight anymore. I don't know why he's in the ring again. You brought up the Weidman fight, man. That was a fight he should have won. He didn't, and he has not looked anywhere near the same since. Barrios, I mean, he at least brings it every fight, whether he gets knocked out or not. But to go, I mean, if this goes 15 minutes, Barrios got the advantage there. If it is a clinch situation, Barrios probably has the advantage there. The only way that Silva can win this fight is if he gets that knockdown. And between his anxiety and the everything else that's gone, he missed weight. I mean, it's just not a good look. It's a telltale sign that his career is done.
Yeah, it's true. The anxiety in conjunction with the weight miss, you might have something there, but I don't know. I just can't trust Barrios. If it was anybody else, maybe, but I don't know. Yeah, he brings it. He brings it right to the mat when he falls, and then he wakes up. But I don't know. I guess I'll bank on the tools one more time, and I guess this is just a card of last chances for me. So we'll see how that goes. But definitely an interesting fight, and I think definitely some intrigue in the lower half here, certainly. But we'll move on to one that is probably not going to be so intriguing, but we'll see. It is Navajo Sterling at 9,100 taking on Ivan Erslan at 7,100. Line on this fight, Sterling minus 310, Erslan plus 255. I think Sterling is going to win, but I don't really see him as this big knockout artist that maybe the line and kind of the hype says that he is. I understand he's extremely big and powerful, but he's kind of very deliberate. He kind of stands up very tall. Erslan is a good, solid boxer, and he did get hurt a couple of times in the fight with Kutalaba. So watch for that, but I don't know. I just think Sterling fights a little too methodical for me. I don't really see the finishing translating at this level. So I do think he's going to win just because, again, he's got that frame, and Erslan is kind of just a little too meat and potatoes. But I expect this to be a fairly competitive kickboxing match, at least early on. So I'm going to go Sterling, but probably one that I wouldn't target too highly in DFS for the favorite. But we will see what the boys think, and we'll start with Drake this time around. Drake, how do you see this fight?
Yeah, I kind of agree with you, for everything that you said with both guys, actually. The biggest problem that I have with this fight is the 7-inch reach advantage that Sterling has, which in a heavyweight fight is, that's massive. These guys, they don't wrestle a ton, neither one of them, if at all. So you're going to see nothing but striking. And for a guy at heavyweight to have 7 inches of reach and the other guy not be able to get in, you're asking to get knocked out, because the only way that Erslan is going to be able to get in is plod forward into the pocket. So I like Sterling a little more than you do. I do think that he can get a late knockout. I wouldn't be surprised to see an early one, really. These guys they're big guys. Light heavyweight, that's the kind of stuff that you see. So I like Sterling. I don't think that Erslan is probably going to make it very far in the UFC unless he refines his striking and his game, but you never know.
Yeah, I agree with that last Sterling take for sure, and it's definitely at the heavier weight classes when a guy has this much physically going on and the other guy it isn't really much. Sort of a room service journeyman type of fighter. You can see a knockout, but again, I just not too much of the killer instinct for me. I think he should have finished the last opponent there, Turcos, and he didn't. So kind of difficult to say, but we will see what Joe thinks. Joe, how you see this fight?
Yeah, so this is another former kickboxer from New Zealand who trains at City Kickboxing. Sound familiar? That fights really long with a reach advantage. I think the last fight he took on short notice, I believe, although you can correct me if I'm wrong. Maybe Joey knows. Thank you, Joey. I really think he's going to do better in this fight. Not that he did poorly in the last fight. You have to remember too that this kid, he's only had like 6 fights in period, outside of what he's done in kickboxing. And that's, for a regional camp, that's about as good as you can get. If you're fighting in that area, that, Australia, New Zealand area, that's probably the best camp in the entire, region to train at. He took another fighter by the name of Carlos Ulberg and made him into a pretty reasonably good fighter at the upper weight class. So I think he's going to fight a lot better. When I looked at this, I was like, I wanted to say, okay, let's go with the dog here because, who is this guy Navajo Sterling? He's got a really cool name, by the way. You wouldn't think a guy named Navajo would come from New Zealand. But I am as the week has gone on and I've done more research and listened to more people's opinions on him, I am definitely now moving to Navajo as one of the stronger plays on the card, especially one of the stronger plays by finish. So, Joey, you and I are totally aligned, brother.
I will add in that, his did you mention his foundation at all?
No, I did not.
So Navajo Sterling, his foundation is kickboxing. So I mean, it's kind of similar to the Poatan thing, and we could see him rise through pretty quickly if he really figures out his gets more comfortable in the UFC.
By foundation, I thought you were talking about like he had some type of like charitable foundation.
Yeah,
but yeah, I did mention he was like a kickboxer from New Zealand. Okay, cool though.
I thought maybe he was doing some good in this.
Hey, he might be.
Yeah. Oh, what am I doing here? Okay, there you go. But yeah, I mean, I could see a finish. It's not like I couldn't, but I think there are some better favorite plays up on this card, and we should get to them shortly. But before that, we have another close one to talk about. It is Ion Cutelaba, the aforementioned Ion Cutelaba at 8,200, taking on Modestas Bukauskas at 8,000. Line on this fight, it is Cutelaba minus 125, Bukauskas plus 105, and I'm just not a fan of Modestas Bukauskas. I never have been. He's got that sort of karate style in and out fluidness, but it all breaks down when he actually starts to exchange, and then he really looks pretty bad. Even in that fight where he ended up knocking out Marcin Prachnio, I mean, Cerquera, it was just, I mean, I liked him coming in, but his chin is just not there. But the Prachnio fight, even when he had Prachnio hurt, he had to fend off two different scenarios in which he almost got knocked out. And it's just because he hangs his chin so high. And like I said, the defense totally breaks down when he starts to exchange. And that leg is going to be there for Cutelaba, who likes his single legs and is very aggressive. And, we've seen a more measured Cutelaba in the past few fights where he's not just sort of going gung-ho and kind of gassing himself out. So a more measured Cutelaba who isn't trying to be too capital T technical and just being boring is, I think, the sweet spot. And I really do like him here. Partially fueled, as I said, by the fact that I don't like Bukauskas, but I think Cutelaba is a good bet and can put up a good DraftKings score. So I'm all the way in on Cutelaba. And I feel like we go to Joe again first. Joe, how you see this fight?
Yeah, I'm on Cutelaba as well. I mean, I think he seems to be getting smarter as he gets older, which is I guess par for the course. But his fight IQ has always been an issue. I mean, he's gassed too soon, or he's made bad mistakes in the ring. I don't know if he's maybe because he's training more at home, he's more relaxed. I don't know. But I like Cutelaba here. I think this could be a very interesting fight. When he wins, he tends to score okay. Again, he's got to manage his cardio. That's the key. But I'll take him here.
Yeah, manage the cardio and don't rush headlong into anything, which I think he's doing a little better at. So we shall see. But Drake, how about you? How do you see this fight?
I don't hate the Cutelaba take, but did you know that he has never beaten a fighter with a 78-inch reach advantage or higher?
Did not.
I did not know that, but my follow-up question would be, how many fights has he had in that regard?
I think 6 when I looked at it.
Wow, okay.
It's been a fair amount. He struggles against guys that have range. And that's how Bukauskas fights, and that's the only reason that I went with him. I actually went as far as to say that I actually like Bukauskas for cash lineups because of the type of floor that he can provide just in this type of matchup. Now, if Cutelaba can get inside, he can get that single heading and take him down. Okay, absolutely, Cutelaba, he should win that. But Bukauskas does have a little grappling in his back pocket. He showed that with his arm triangle. I like Bukauskas a little bit in this matchup.
You know what?
I can see it. I mean, I could see it totally.
Well, I was just gonna say, I mean, Cutelaba isn't exactly Mr. Reliable, so in that sense, I can see it. But I don't know. Bukauskas is just, if he doesn't have a dance partner and I guess Cutelaba is this guy to a certain extent who's just going to crash in for him and do a lot of his work. But again, I just don't trust him exchanging in the pocket. And I guess it's two untrustworthy fighters, but we shall see how it shakes out. But for now, we will move on. It is Jasmine Jasudavicius at 9,200. Sure, I didn't say that right. Versus Jessica Andrade at 7,000. Line on this fight. It is Jasudavicius minus 300. Andrade plus 250. And I'm taking Jasudavicius here, but I need to warn. And again, I mean, it seems like we have a lot of this on this card where it's just a big reach advantage, and Jasudavicius has one here. But if she starts slow, as she has done in past fights, Andrade could back her up and make this interesting. We know that Andrade, like, even when she gets the fight she wants now, I feel like she got the fight she wanted against Silva where she just sort of backed her up. And I guess it's because she was that much faster, and we'll talk about that later too. But Andrade was really missing a lot. She doesn't go in for a lot for her own wrestling, which I think could make some difference here. But if Jasudavicius starts her wrestling early, I don't think it's going to be close. I think she's just going to blanket Andrade. I think she's going to be stronger and just really going to put the hammer down here. So I'm taking Jasudavicius, but I really think she needs to get started. She can't stay in the pocket for too long, even with that reach advantage, because I think Andrade could just back her up and make her life really miserable. But I am taking Jasudavicius here. But we will start with Drake. Drake, how do you see this one?
So this is one of those fights where I'm actually really high on Jasudavicius. We've kind of seen Andrade kind of, work her way down. She's, the whole back nine thing. She's kind of on it. She's dropped, I think, down to like 16. And then I think she dropped out of the top 15. Unless that was just for flyweight. Either way, Jasmine's wrestling is impressive. And man, it's like she gets better every fight with it. She gets smarter. She gets, I don't even know what it is. There was like the first 5 fights of hers that I did not go with her, maybe 6. And I'm done making that mistake because her wrestling is real. I don't think she's going to have a problem putting Andrade down. I think she can put her down. I think she can hold her there. The only thing that I don't like is that she does not go for many submission attempts. So it's a lot of, hugging and, you're kind of just hoping for a lot of control time and, rinse and repeat takedowns. But I really like her in the spot. She's a pretty safe play for cash.
Yeah, I agree. I think there's safety as long as she can get past the danger. So I think there's 2 sides to that coin there, but I do like her a decent amount. Joe, what about you? How do you see this fight?
Yeah, so I mean, look, I really wanted to be able to come up with a reason to play Andrade here, and you mentioned the reach advantage of Jasudavicius. I don't think the reach advantage matters in the very least, because if she decides to strike with Andrade, she's gonna really be doing herself a disservice. That would actually give Andrade a chance to win if she decides to strike. She needs to take her down right away. Would it surprise you guys if I told you that Andrade is actually 3 years younger than Jasmine Jasudavicius? She's 3 years younger. And it seems like Andrade has been in the UFC forever. She's actually fought at 135, right? Yeah. I mean, so she's been around forever. Unfortunately, she had to fight a lot in like 2023 because she was going through something where apparently her significant other they were getting a divorce, and her significant other was like taking a lot of her money, and she needed to fight a lot. And I think that kind of like wore on her a bit. So my pick is obviously Jasmine Jasudavicius. She is the pride of Canada right now. She's probably like the best Canadian fighter, like, sex aside. She's the best Canadian fighter. But like, she really does have to wrestle here. If she just decides to we've seen the power and the strength that Andrade has, and you do not want to get into a striking match with her. Like, don't get cocky. Don't try to fight from the outside. Immediately shoot for that takedown, and that's where your advantage is. So I have Jasudavicius. I will probably have a few shares of Andrade in my DraftKings lineups, But you know, the game plan is pretty clear here. What Jazz the Vicious has to do. Do not get into any type of striking exchange with Andrade. Take her down, ride her out, be active enough so that you don't get stood up, and do that round after round. And you'll get a pretty easy decision.
Yeah, I agree. I just we've seen her start slow in that regard in the past, and so I think it is worth noting. But in general, I do agree that I think that she will get the fight she wants. I mean, at this point, I think Andrade needs a very specific kind of opponent to look good against. And while I think she will have her opportunities here, I don't think generally this is going to be that fight. But we will move on now. It is Mike Malott at 8,900, another hometown Canadian versus Chuck Buffalo, Charlie Radke at 7,300. Line on this one is minus 210, Mike Malott, plus 180, Charles Radke. And this was my other fight on the card where the line doesn't make a whole lot of sense to me. Malott was a big prospect coming in. We know that. He had the bad performance against Neil Magny where he gets tired, gasses out, and gets stopped. And then he fights his next fight against Trevin Giles like he's afraid to get tired. He stays on the outside. He makes a fight against Trevin Giles way harder than it has to be. Trevin Giles, always a good boxer, was really peppering him with those jabs, bladed up his face. The problem with Trevin Giles is when he tries to get aggressive, his game breaks down. And when he tried to open up, Malott did score on him. I think Charlie Radke, he doesn't have the footwork of a Trevin Giles, but he's got fast hands. He's got power. He's got a good jab himself. He's got a good left hook. And I really think that he is going to, I don't want to say style, but I think this is a good matchup for him. He's never been taken down in the octagon. Now, full disclosure, that's only 4 or 5 tries by mostly non-wrestlers. I actually think Blood Diamond is in there. But be that as it may, we didn't even really see Malott try to wrestle in the last one, and I think that speaks to the fact that he was afraid to get tired. And I just don't. I think the shine is the luster is off the diamond with Mike Malott here. I think Radke is. We haven't really seen him look unimpressive except against Prates, and he can certainly be forgiven for that. So I don't know how Malott's going to fight here, and I have to see him kind of get back on the stick. Certainly before I pick him as a big favorite anywhere. So my money is on Radke here, and I really do feel pretty good about this one. But we're gonna start with Drake first. Drake, how you see this fight?
Just another one we are very different on.
All right.
I know Joey is also big on Radke. He thinks that he's gonna, put a stopper to him. And while Chuck Buffalo could easily score that, knockdown and knockout early, I like Malott to get this done. I think he comes out a little more, kind of refreshed, refined. I think he does go back to his, his BJJ. He is a black belt. I mean, that's why he took off time in 2015 to 2017. That was to get his, his black belt. And I think he gets back to, more of that. I mean, we've obviously seen that he can strike, so I'm not worried about that. But if he mixes that in with his, Brazilian jiu-jitsu, then this fight should be his all day.
Yeah, I do that. I think that's the problem. I still think there's a lot of ifs there. If you can get past it, and there you go, plus 275. I actually thought that price might be a little steeper based on how big of a dog he is, but be as it may, I guess that is kind of the path. Anyway, but to me it is just a lot of ifs. If he's able to get back to it, Trevin Giles, he's got some tools, but he's not a guy you're supposed to look bad against, especially if you're a touted prospect. And he's gonna have to show it to me. I don't think he's there quite yet, but we will see if Joe can break the tie here. Joe, how you see this fight?
Yeah, so initially I circled Radke as a possible underdog here, but in doing more research, Malat's just better everywhere. So the way that I look at this, right? He cardio dumped against Magny. He overcorrected against Giles. And now this is his fight. Like back in Canada, in front of the fans. I think these are very reasonable odds on Malat. If you like him and you want to bet on him. Now look, Ratke is a spark plug, and I'm still going to have shares of him in mass entries, right? But I think honestly that Malat might be flying under the radar a bit. I mean, again, he had his loss to Magny, he overcorrected against Giles, and now like this is his third fight, and I think this is his chance for him to in the sequence, third fight in the sequence, and this is his chance to show that he's just better everywhere, technically. So I am going to pick Malat, but I would not discourage people from, having shares of Ratke as one of the dogs that you're going to play in DFS. There's a couple others. I mean, I like Katona more as a dog. I kind of like going back and forth with Grasso, but we'll talk about that later. So yeah, I mean, play Ratke, in some of your DK lineups. But I think these are very favorable odds for a bet on Malat.
That's interesting because to me, like that narrative can go cut both ways. Like, yeah, he's in front of the home crowd, but he's in front of the home crowd. So if he was nervous about gassing out before, maybe the lights, maybe there's people he knows in the audience, maybe he bought tickets for his family.
Yeah, I don't think it was nerves. I think he just was a fighter that's never like gotten out of the first, like all of his fights like ended early.
He came out and said that the whole reason that fight happened the way that it did is because he knew he could basically win that way. He was trying to figure out a way to mature himself as a fighter and basically win in any fashion. And so he didn't need to go to the ground in that fight. If you take, what he says at.
Well, who else said that after a fight that was kind of lackluster? Mr. Bo Nickel did. And then we saw what happened in his match.
But Bo Nickel's terrible, and we all know that. So,
well, we know now. But yeah, no, it's funny because that's what I was thinking when you were saying that, because it was his exact rationale. I got experience and I beat him any way I wanted, but the real truth was, as we know now, that he couldn't do it the other way, and maybe Malat is having a little bit of that going on, but we will see. I do think the narrative is interesting, and I do think it can go one of two ways, but I am quite firmly on the dog there. But we will move to the main card, but before we do that, we are going to take a quick break for our audio-only podcast listeners, and we will be right back. And we are back. Thank you all so much for holding on. We are going to start on the main card now, and the curtain jerker is not quite the one we were expecting. It is Benoit Saint-Denis at 9,700, taking on the returning Kyle Prepelic at 6,500. Line on this fight is about as wide as you would expect with those odds. I mean, maybe even wider, quite frankly. It is Benoit Saint-Denis minus 2,000 at this point. When I did the odds earlier in the week, they weren't quite that high, so they've actually risen a fair bit, which is interesting. But it's minus 2,000 on Benoit Saint-Denis, plus 1,000 on Kyle Prepelic. First of all, no fight should be that wide. That's number one. Number two, it's interesting to see what kind of fight we're going to get here. Obviously, Saint-Denis has an opportunity to right the ship here after, winning the fight against Poirier, then sort of gassing out and losing, and then just getting absolutely destroyed by Renato Moicano. And so there's question marks here too. Is he going to be a little tentative? It was always his style, to go in sort of face first, guns blazing, win or lose. His first loss against Zaleski dos Santos was that kind of fight as well in his debut. Prepelic is like an extreme pressure fighter, guy who's been in the UFC before. He's probably gonna come after Benoit Saint-Denis, probably make the wrestling of Saint-Denis a little tough, but I do think Santini should just kind of outstrike him and probably knock him out if it does come to that. But again, there's question marks about Santini here. I mean, how is he going to look after just ended up taking 2 vicious beatings back to back here? Now he comes back and a minus 2,000 favorite, which is probably one of the highest odds in UFC history, which is wild. But the pick has to be Santini. Prepelic has looked okay on the regional scene, but it's difficult to know what to take from that. And I think his style is going to give Santini the fight he wants, and ultimately, I do think he comes out on top. But the first round finish, I mean, he could get it in there with like a 110 score or something, but it is difficult kind of at the 9,700 salary nonetheless. But we will see how the boys think, and we'll start, I believe, Joe. Okay, Joe, how you see the first fight on the main card here?
Yeah, so I mean, I think you stole a little bit of my thunder with your last statement. At 9.7K, I mean, 12x, like you're going to really probably need 12x out of that price point, right? So 9.7K, are you going to get 12x? Kyle has never been knocked out in the UFC. I believe he's been subbed a couple times. I mean, sorry, he has never been knocked out in his career. I believe he's been subbed a couple times, but never KO'd. So if Saint Denis comes out a little cautious, and this fight kind of drags on, even if he gets a late finish, right? Because this is a short notice fight, even if he gets a late finish, I don't know that I don't see the 12x. I don't see the ceiling on him as I do on other fighters. So he's going to have to come out in order to get that high point score, to get that 12x value. He's going to have to come out and either finish early or like just knock him down several times. And I don't know that that's going to happen either. So I'm obviously picking Saint Denis to win. I'm not crazy. Just because this is predominantly a DFS show, I just don't know. I mean, that he's the best value at 9.7K. Now, there are some underdogs that we all like where you can get him into lineups, which is fine. But, are you leaving some points on the table by doing that? So I'm probably going to be at or under ownership on Bernard Saint Denis. And look, not to say that I want to go like high the other way either. I'm just going to be kind of like at or lower than ownership on this fight as a whole.
Yeah, it does seem that way because, I mean, there's just so much unknown going on that I don't really want to have that much to do with it either. I feel like Drake might have an opposite view, though, so we're going to go to him now. Drake, how do you see this fight?
It's not that I have an opposite view. It's just Prepelic is a freaking trash can. I mean, he's fought 3 times in the last 3 years. He basically fights once a year. The last guy that he beat is a 42-year-old dude that's 25 and 29. And it's just, like Joe said at the beginning of the show, there is absolutely zero reason that this kid is fighting. There's no BSD should absolutely kill him.
Yeah, well, there is no reason. I mean, I don't know why the fight had to be made. I was gonna say rebooked, but booked is appropriate. But I guess they just wanted to fill out that card. But yeah, I do think Santini should win, but I'm not really sure what to expect here. I don't know if Santini comes out tentative. Could Santini smash? Of course he could, but it's just I like more of the certainties that I see on the card here. But we're gonna move on down the main card now. It is Natalia Silva at 8,800 taking on Alexa Grasso at 7,400. Line on this fight, it is Silva at minus 231, Alexa Grasso plus 196. And I like Natalia Silva as a fighter. She's just not a good DFS play. She's an outfighter. She sort of sticks and moves. She's going to have a big speed advantage here again. Alexa Grasso seems like her wrestling has gotten worse if we go by those Shevchenko fights. And I just don't. Natalia Silva's takedown defense has been good historically, and I just don't see this fight scoring all that well. I think I know that Joe was hinted at taking a little bit of Grasso, so I'll be interested in that perspective. But I think this is going to be another Natalia Silva performance where she kind of dances around, lands her strikes, and does enough to take a decision. Not so much in this for me from a DraftKings perspective or a DFS perspective generally, but we're going to actually, I think we're holding off on Joe to the end here, so that'll be a nice little capper for us because I don't believe Drake is in that direction too. So we will see how that goes. Drake, how do you see this fight?
The question I keep asking myself when I come back to this fight is, was Alexa Grasso ever really that good?
Yeah.
Or was it, she lost to Macy Barber. I don't care that thing says a win. She lost to Macy Barber. But the Hail Mary submission on Shevchenko, the draw that probably shouldn't have been a draw, and then she got her ass handed to her. Is she a great fighter? Yeah, there's no doubt about it. Is she top 10? Yes, absolutely. Is she top 5? Now that's where I start to question things. I completely agree with the way you said it. Silva should dance around on the outside. She should just completely pepper her with every strike possible. And I don't see Grasso having much success in this fight.
Yeah, that does seem to be the draw up here, and I don't really see another way around it. But I think I know two people who do. Will actually does see Grasso. If she wins, it might be that kind of greasy split decision where it's like maybe
she's going to win. She has to get this fight to the mat where she could still get submitted. So
yeah, well, no, that's true. But I'm just imagining a fight where like she lands kind of the harder strikes, maybe, and the judges kind of see it that way. But I don't think it's going to happen. But I think if there's a split, that would probably be the way it would go. But Joe, how you see in this fight here?
Yeah, so I wanted to be able to take some flyers on Grasso, but if you take a longer look, I mean, the last time that Silva's lost was 2017 to a very much Marina Rodriguez in her prime. Like that was prime Marina Rodriguez. That was the last time she lost in 2017. Now I believe she's only 28, right? So if she's only 28 now, she was what, 20 years old when she was 20 years old when she lost that fight to Marina Rodriguez. I mean, she actually beat Jasmine Jasdavicius, which is that is something that traveled well. That win. So I think that the only way that Grasso has a chance to win here is if she's opportunistic. Like, come on, Val was winning that fight until she decided to try to throw a spinning back fist and got caught in a sub. Like, I think it's going to take something like that, and you can't bet on that. You can't count that. So I'm on Silva here. Unfortunately, I love Grasso. I mean, look, she is not hard on the eyes, obviously. Especially not hard on the eyes. She represents her country well. She speaks English. I like her as a person, as a fighter, but I think she's out of her. I think Silva's just the future here, and she is like probably the past.
Yeah, I agree. I just sort of think, she had her moment, and that moment is gone. And I think unless we see a revitalized Alexa Grasso, I think it is going to be the comprehensive but ultimately boring victory that we kind of think it is. But we'll move on now to the King of Rio, Jose Aldo at 9,000, taking on Aman Zahabi at 7,200. Line on this fight is Aldo minus 179, Zahabi plus 154. As I mentioned, this fight has been moved since Aldo missed weight, and the fight is no longer at the bantamweight, is going to be at featherweight instead.
I want to make a note on that, Chris.
Yeah.
So Aldo obviously weighed in heavy, and I think that both managers they must have been talking to each other because Zahabi also weighed in over 140, so he stopped his cut early. So I
Yeah, he
think
did. So here's the backstory, guys. They actually had a conversation. The UFC called Zahabi's manager and said, "Look, Aldo's not going to make weight. Like he's not going to make weight." And I think at that point in time, Zahabi was like 137. So he just stopped, like, which is why he weighed in heavy because he, they had a call and they're like, and apparently Aldo was too heavy to even have this fight as a catch weight.
Yeah.
So it's at 145. That's
so. Yeah, I think they did it right. Finally, usually they don't do it this way. Usually managers don't reach out, and we see all that bullshit that happens with fighters missing by 5 pounds the day before, and then the whole card is just in shambles because that happens. So I really like what Aldo's manager did to get this handled.
Yeah, it was good. I think if I'm not mistaken, Zahabi weighed himself, and he said when they told him to stop cutting, he was only like 0.8 off or something. So I think what he was trying to let us know that he was ready to go to sort of quash that it was kind of a mutual miss. Zahabi said he was ready, but in any event, he is not Jose Aldo, so things get handled. But as to the fight itself, I really think this is kind of a great matchup for Aldo, especially at this point in his career. Zahabi plods; he kind of stays stationary in the pocket, and Aldo loves to measure and then explode with combinations. Really set up his strikes, and this is going to be a really good way for Aldo to do that. It kind of reminds me of the Jonathan Martinez fight, just sort of a stationary kickboxer opponent, and Aldo is just going to have all the time he wants to pick him off from range. I still don't know if that means he scores well. Aldo just doesn't do that, especially later in his career. He had the 103 against Rob Font that included those 2 knockdowns, but literally everything else. Before that fight, the last time he put up at least 80 was Moicano in 2019, and that was exactly 80. So Jose Aldo just doesn't really score unless he finds that perfect shot, which I certainly can't trust him to do. I think that the chance of a knockout is a little bit higher in this one just because of the dynamic that I mentioned, but you still can't really trust it. Be rooting for Aldo as a fan, but 9,000 is a bit too much, and I don't think you can take Zahabi. So for me, this is kind of a pass. You want to bet Aldo by decision, maybe sprinkle a little bit on the knockout. I think both of that is fine, but I think Aldo is certainly the play. And we're going to start with Drake here, though. Drake, how do you see this one?
I love this fight for Aldo. This is one of those fights where we get to see how and why Aldo became so masterful. The way that he perfected his craft and just how clean he is with everything that he does. Zahabi should be completely outclassed here, outmatched. It should be Aldo all day. But
yeah,
that said, I do agree that DFS wise, he probably will not score well.
Yeah, I mean, you keep waiting for it just because, especially in a matchup like this, because it is kind of just a guy who I think is just gonna take all of Aldo's artillery here. But yeah, the guy just doesn't score. He doesn't even he had probably a knockout against Jonathan Martinez, and it just took him down instead. So I don't know where his mind is at with that. Maybe it's a Bushido thing. Maybe he doesn't want to finish these fighters. Who knows? But in any case, I am going to pass for DFS. But we will see if Joe says anything different. Joe, how you seeing this fight?
Yeah, this is the worst fight on the slate for DFS. However, Aldo at under -2 to 1.
Yeah.
Under 2 to 1 is a great bet. He's right now sitting at -192. So, I mean, look, this is going to be a striking fight. There's not going to be any wrestling. I don't think any fighter is going to throw an obscene amount of volume. So it is an absolutely horrible fight for DFS. But like Aldo -192, I like that quite a bit. Like, again, I don't know the reason for the weight cut, But I mean, for the weight miss, but like, if Aldo just shows up like he did in his past fight, that version of Aldo, and hopefully he's a little stronger because he didn't have to cut that extra weight to get down to 135. I really do like him here a lot. I think he's a far better bet than he is a DFS play. I would probably fade this fight. I know we've only got 12 fights and it's hard to fade a fight, but like, if you were going to fade one out of the 12, I think this would probably be the best fight to fade for DFS.
Yeah, I agree. I think my heart wants to say Aldo finish, but the brain has to think differently. So again, kind of not unlike the last fight with Silva there. I think we're in agreement that this fight I don't think is going to be boring. I think it's going to be fun to watch Aldo work. I just don't think it's going to be very action packed in terms of knockdowns or certainly finishes, but we shall see. But from there, we're going to move on to the co-main event now. It is Manon Fiorot at 8,500 taking on the flyweight champion Valentina Bullet Shevchenko at 7,700. Line on this fight, it is Fiorot minus 135, Valentina Shevchenko plus 115, and we'll let the boys get to it. But suffice to say that I was surprised at how many people I've seen on Shevchenko here. I know she won the last fight against Grasso, but she didn't really look good either. She had all those takedowns, didn't do anything with her top control, just made for a boring fight. You can say, okay, she fought her competition, she fought to win, etc., etc. I think it's the markings of a fighter getting older who maybe can't fight the way that she used to, and I think Manon Fiorot is very much the new generation. She's very light on her feet. She's got a very nice, clean, hard jab, hard strikes. She controls her range very well. I think even getting in on Fiorot's hips is going to be a challenge for her. But even if she did, I think she's only been taken down once and not held very long. So it'd be interesting to see if she could even be held there. I don't think she is going to be able to get this one to the ground. If she does, I know that our friend Joey likes those takedown lines, and I was looking at Prize Picks. Her takedown line is 3.5, which I found odd as the underdog, because or 2.5, I'm sorry. If she gets 3 takedowns in this fight, I have to imagine that she probably wins it, because if that would mean that she gets her game going. I don't really see that happening. I really do like Fiorot a lot here. Again, probably not to score that well, which unfortunately seems to be a pattern for this main card, because Fiorot, if she can't completely dominate you in the striking, she just sort of controls the range and has her kind of fight. So I do think that this one probably goes to a slightly boring decision. Maybe Valentina Shevchenko gets hit hard once or twice. We know that she's got the Thai style where she kind of stands in front, and I really don't think that's going to benefit her here. So I know I got one person chirping in the chat who really likes Shevchenko. I might have 1 or 2 more people here who have something to say about Shevchenko, but let's go to it now, and we'll start with Joe for the co-main. Joe, how are you seeing it?
Yeah, I'm on Val here. I mean, look, first of all, like I look, I call him my friend, my good friend Dan Levy. He's like, I can't bet anyone who was born like, 1990 or before, but like, dude, there's a 2-year age difference between these two fighters. Like Val is 37 and Fiorot is 35, right? We're not talking like there's no like big 5-year gap here. And I don't think there's that big of a difference between 35 and 37 in women's MMA. So I'm kind of going to throw that logic out the window. Now, you could say, like Fiorot has got like a strength advantage, but look, Val has got advantages everywhere else. She's got a competition advantage. Look, Val has got 4 losses, right? One of those is to Grasso because of the silliness that she had with her, going for that spinning back fist. 2 of them are to Lemma.
The GOAT.
Yeah, the GOAT. But like, you could argue that she won either one of those fights. Like, those fights were extremely close, right? I actually saw Val at her debut. It was the first UFC event I ever went to. It was in Orlando in 2015. That ended up being a super card because there were so many fighters that were on that card that ended up like Usman and Ngannou and JDS, and like there was just a lot of people on that card KK made her debut on that card. Nate Diaz was on that card. Like, it was just like, it ended up being like one of those legendary cards in hindsight. And Val made her debut on that card. And I like Val quite a bit here. I don't think she's diminished. I think she is a wily fighter. I think, she always brings it. The other thing I like about Val is that her camps are always customized around her. Like, she does not train at any of the main camps. She prefers to have a camp that's customized around her. And that's always been her MO, and it's always kind of served her well. Look, I love her here at plus money. I bet her months ago, earlier when this line dropped. I thought the line was going to flip. I actually should have waited because I could have gotten a little better. I think it's sitting now at what, plus 114, something like that. But I do like Val here. Will I be surprised if Fiorot wins? No, I'm going to have a few shares of her in DFS, but like, I'm getting Val at plus money. I'm getting her at sub 8K. Like, what the F? Like, Val at sub 8K. I love her. I think she's a great DraftKings play. I think she's a really great bet. It would not surprise me if that line got even tighter as we moved into Saturday and closer to the main card. We saw it. Unfortunately, it didn't work out because Miesha Tate had for whatever reason, decided to strike for 2 freaking rounds. I mean, if you would have told me that I got Tate at minus 125 and she went off at like minus 160, I'm like, I'll take that bet every day. And then she decides to wrestle in the 3rd round and it's clear. I'm venting here. Forget it. Okay, this is not Miesha Tate. This is Valentina Shevchenko. So I like her here quite a bit. I would not be shocked if Fiorot wins, but like, I don't think that you could make anything of this age discrepancy because it's only 2 years. And we're talking 35 versus 37. So give me Val all day.
Well, now that you opened it up a little, like I saw you say that and I thought it was odd about Miesha Tate. She tried to wrestle all fight. She didn't succeed until the 3rd round.
I disagree. I don't think she shot. She
succeeded.
She ran out and started striking, and she didn't really try all that hard. Once she actually committed to getting the takedown, it was clearly obvious how superior she was to Santos in that fight. It was so disappointing. I had so much money tied up in Tate. It made for a really sour taste in my mouth that she just kind of gave the fight away. And we're all screaming like in the 3rd round, get the sub, because we knew that there was no way, unless some crazy judge gave her a 10-8 round and that fight maybe ended in a draw. Like, we knew there was no way she was going to win unless she got the finish. So we're all screaming at the TV. Anyway.
All right. Yeah. We'll drop it. I mean, she went 1 for 7, but be as it may. Drake, how you see the co-main event here?
Like I told you, Chris, before the show started, I was originally on Fiorot, and I made my switch simply because the only advantage that Fiorot has in this fight is on the feet, and it's only if she can get inside. And I don't know how many southpaws she has fought in her career, but she hasn't fought a southpaw in the UFC. And when you can train as much as you want against, someone who doesn't fight what you're normally against. So, for her going against somebody that's orthodox, it's what she's used to. She's not used to fighting a southpaw at all. Nor is she used to fighting somebody as good as Valentina. So I really like Valentina in this. I love that she's at 7,800. I love that she's plus money. I'll take Valentina all day.
Yeah, I could see the plus money argument. Okay, here's the question I want to ask. Like, what is her primary method of victory? Does she strike? Does she wrestle? What does she do?
Which one? Valentina?
Yeah.
Well, I think she throws her to the ground.
Okay.
Her trips are so disgusting. So you talk about Fiorot's takedown defense, and a lot of her takedown defense is almost all defending single and double legs. You don't see it in clinches, and you don't see trips. So I don't know how Fiorot is going to handle it. If she stuffs them, great. she'll deserve this win. She deserves the belt. Good for her. I just don't think it's going to happen.
Nala's got nasty trips. I love her trips.
They're disgusting.
I love her trips.
Okay, fair enough. It is sort of a new challenge, and we will see how it goes. But for now, we're going to move on to the main event. It is Belal. Remember the name, Muhammad at 8,700 taking on Jack Della Maddalena at 7,500. Line on this fight is Belal minus 180, Jack Della plus 150. And we talked about this a little before the show too. And to me, it's very simple. It boils down to Jack Della has done nothing to show us that he solved wrestlers in any capacity. Basel Hafez on short notice got almost 7 minutes of control time. Gilbert Burns took him down 7 times, and Jack Della had to pull that fight out of the fire in the waning minute of round 3. Props on him for doing that, and he could certainly run into something hard, or run Belal into something hard, that is. But Belal is pretty tough. Hasn't been knocked out since that fight way back with Vicente Luque. Got wobbled in that first fight with Leon Edwards, and then game plan around it, of course. Jack Della, of course, not the grappler of Leon Edwards, so if Belal does take him to the ground, I don't expect many reversals. Maybe some kind of tricky get-ups and things like that for rinse and repeat takedowns, which is all the better for us on the DFS side. So I just don't think we can trust Jack Della Maddalena. Obviously, he's the better boxer by a mile, despite what Belal wants to say about Canelo hands and blah blah blah. Maybe latter day Canelo hands. Maybe the Canelo hands that we saw last weekend, but not prime Canelo hands certainly. And Jack Della is the more explosive boxer puncher. I just don't think he's going to have a chance to get off here. We've seen how good Belal is at pressuring. We've seen him have 5-round cardio, even pushing upwards of 40 now. So his gas tank is not a problem, and I just don't see how Jack Della deals with this over 5 rounds. So my pick is Belal. I think we have a pretty decent line / DFS salary here, maybe because nobody thinks that much of him really. But I am very content to see another dominant, boring Belal performance, and I do think that's what we're going to get. But we will see what the boys think, and we'll start with Drake. Drake, how you see the main event here?
You summed it up. I don't got a lot of input for this one. JDM's live for a knockout if you can keep it on the feed. Other than that, what we're probably going to see if there is no finish and this goes to decision, you could be looking at 15 plus minutes of control time for Muhammad, however many strikes go into that, and 5, 6, 7, 8 plus touch, takedowns. So I like Muhammad everywhere. I like him in DFS for both DraftKings and FanDuel. I like him in the captain spot. I love Muhammad in this matchup.
Yeah, I do as well. I think it's a good spot for him. I think there's a lot of sharks at welterweight going for the title, and I don't think Jack Della is one of them, at least not at this point of his career. So I think Belal, maybe to the surprise of some, is going to get a title defense here. But we'll see what Joe thinks. Joe, how you see the main event?
Yeah, so I'm going to complete the trifecta here. I just hope that, Belal's rhetoric is just that he's not going to try to just box with JD. I mean, it would make no sense at all. Just fight your fight. You take him down repeatedly. You maybe work to advance position. You maybe work to get a finish, but don't be stupid. And at minus 185, I think that's a really great line.
It'd be like Tate boxing with Santos.
It's yeah, it's like Tate boxing with Santos. Good one. Yeah, know how to rub it in. Okay, yeah. So look, I'm on Belal here. I would be surprised if he lost with his game plan instituted. The only way I see him losing is if he deviates from his game plan. He's a tough guy. I've always liked him. I know he tries to be controversial. He really blew up on New Jersey the last time when he was in Newark, which I thought was funny. Because obviously he didn't see any in New Jersey. But other than that, I like Belal here. I think he's a great parlay piece. I like him in DFS. Also, I always like having the favorite in the main event tied to my parlays because it makes it so much easier to hedge on the other guy. Which I did. I've been doing quite a lot of. Or unfortunately been doing quite a lot of. So yeah, I'm on Belal here. Minus 185, I think is very fair. If you want to try to get a little bit better juice, you can play Belal by decision. I think that is the most likely way this fight ends. If you really want to get cute, play Belal by, there's a double chance bet where you could play Belal by decision and Jack Maddalena by knockout. And let me tell you what the odds on that actually are.
While you're looking that up, there's actually another thing to consider here, and it's the fact that JDM has never fought in rounds 4 and 5.
True.
Belal can finish in 4 and 5 easily just because JDM is gassed. I mean, he's going to be under Belal quite a bit. He's going to be, he's going to be tired, man. I could see Belal putting him out.
I agree. Yeah, you're right. Come to think of it, yeah, I could see that. Like maybe fight ends in rounds 3 or 4, or Belal finishes in rounds 3 and 4. There's all kinds of really great props on the DraftKings, the DraftKings sportsbook app. So I'm gonna have to take a look at those and maybe do a same game parlay or same fight parlay with that fight, when we get there. So yeah.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I think that's a good note. I think, we don't know how he deals with the deep water, and maybe not so well at all. We know that he was tired in the Basil Hafez fight, and of course he wore better in the Burns fight, but we got 2 more rounds now, so could definitely see that happening. But with that, that is the close of the UFC 315 card, and now we are going to go to hot takes. If you are new to the show, this is where we find bets with a lot of juice that we feel are a little too juiced up for the line. So we give them to you, and we present them as plays that are likely to come in, at least more likely than that line indicates. And I saw a good one for Joey when you were all having your Shevchenko love fest here. Let me see if I can find it. Oh, there it is. Shevchenko by sub at the plus 800.
I don't hate it.
Definitely,
I don't hate it.
Yeah, definitely some meat on that bone. I could actually go first with mine. Kind of gave this away a little bit when I was talking about the fight and gave you a couple of Aldo lines, but I did not give you the knockout line, which is plus 435. He's going to have his opportunity to wobble, hurt Ayman Zahabi. And you know what? Maybe he's mad because Mario Batista held him against the fence for 3 rounds. Maybe he comes out and sparks it up. So we will see how that works. But I do think, again, that is a good spot for him to show off, and maybe he lands the big one there. And if you have a hot take, post that in the chat. I will put it on the screen as I did with Joey's there. But for now, we will go with the boys, guys. Any hot take?
Yeah, so this isn't very sexy, but I'm going to give you guys a 5-fighter parlay. I like Jasmine.
5 is mine because this is going to be really funny.
I like Jasmine. I like Silva, Natalia Silva. I like Jose Aldo. I like Valentina Shevchenko, and I like Belal Muhammad. Is that
That's my 5-fighter.
Okay. Come on.
That's hilarious. I have it up on my screen.
Right. So I'm actually playing this now on DraftKings Sportsbook. It's plus 853. However, on DraftKings Sportsbook, if you have access to it, they are giving you a boost. And with 5 picks, you're getting a 50% boost, and you could bet up to $250. So I am going to bet the full $250, and that will change the odds to plus 1281, which means my $250 is going to return $3,452.50. So I am going to bet this $250 to win over $3,000 on a 5-fighter parlay that I think has a really good chance of happening. So there you go. $250, taking advantage of the DraftKings profit boost. If you're going to win over $3,000 with this parlay. It's not very sexy, but I like all these fights. The only dog here is Val. But I mean, that helps juice the odds up. So
I will say, and I believe that I'm correct. Nobody discussed anything beforehand. This is totally organic.
No.
The same 5 fighters.
No.
I mean, that is certainly a fight IQ first, and maybe
Drake and I have the same hot take. So with both of us, that could give you more confidence to play.
That's
pretty crazy. When you said 5 fighter, I was like, no way.
Yeah. So we both like this a lot. So guys, look, you don't have access to the DraftKings. Like, you don't get the boost. Wow, too bad. So if you guys do get the boost, definitely take advantage of the boost. And they're allowing you to bet up to 250, and you're getting that extra money. And look, 250 is a lot of money. I get it, but like 250, and you're going to win over $3,000. You're going to make over $3,000 profit. So I really do like this bet a lot.
Yeah, no, I think it's fascinating that you both have the same play. I don't hate it. Of course, I don't agree with every fight on there, but
I got one more though.
No, Drake, go ahead.
So there's actually one that I'm kind of surprised that the odds are so high on. You have to go all the way back to the second fight of the night with Jung Young Lee. I like him to get a submission on either rounds 2 or 3. And that is at plus 2,000.
Wow. Yeah. Huh. I don't hate it. Silva's very scrambly. So we'll see how
Scrambles can also get you caught, especially against a guy that's got a big reach advantage.
That's true. That's true. Yeah. Maybe we'll see what kind of Darce choke he has.
By the way, we didn't mention that there's some really serious odds value on Lee. He's minus 142. Yet he's what is he, 7'9"? 7'8" on DraftKings. So that tells me he is going to be an extremely highly owned fighter on DraftKings, because a lot of these players will go purely off line value. And I think that is the best line value on the slate right now, is having a minus 142 fighter at 7.8K. He's going to be probably, I'm not a great ownership guy, so like if I'm wrong, I'm wrong. I'm going to say at least 40% owned is going to be my guess, just because of that.
Between 35 and 40, so right about that.
Yeah. Being the only fighter with that kind of line value on the card is going to really make him very popular. So I could see him, which again, if you're a contrarian player, go the other way or fade it because he's going to be so highly owned. But I think you want to play him in cash for sure. And you probably want to put him in a fair amount of GPP lineups. And at that 7.8K price tag, it's going to let you get some of the higher price guys in, especially if you pair him with Val, who's also sub 8K. And you've got other guys too. You could play Katona, you could play Radke. I think there's a fair amount of sub 8K fighters that'll let you get some of those higher price guys in and will really help you build lineups. I think this is a really good GPP card. And look, I say this, and again, I say this tongue in cheek because everybody's got a different bankroll, but you could max out the 50-cent contest for $75. You could put 150 lineups together, and I think it's 2,000 on top. So like, if you want to try some things, and obviously you need to have access to a lineup optimizer, no one is going to hand build 150 lineups. So, but you could do some interesting things. You could try some things. I mean, and the bottom line is you're not going to lose the entire $75. Because you're going to win some of those bets. So the bottom line is your downside is going to be less than $75, and it gives you a chance to try some things out. And then you could move your way up to the $3 mass entry, which is, I think, $15,000 on top. And it's going to cost you $450, right? So like you could ladder your way up, the 50-cent contest and then go up to the 3. Those are the 2 mass entry contests under $5. That you could play. Unfortunately, there's not a dollar contest that allow you to put 150 lineups in. There's a dollar contest that allow you to put 20 in. So like, if you got $75 that you can risk, and the upside is $2,000, there you go. Give it a shot.
Yeah, absolutely. And if you are looking for an optimizer,
RotoWire's got one.
Yeah, why not? RotoWire.com. Promo code Roto15. Check.
I think I know the guy that does the projections. For
I think he hit a couple of those pretty square on last week too.
Very good.
If I'm not mistaken, against a certain fighter His name rhymes with Dos Años. But anyway.
So Chris, I got a shout out before we go. Our next, we're not going to be together again until 316, which is June 7th in Newark. And, I told you guys this before the fight, but I am so thrilled, and I need to give a shout out to Leo M 76. He is a finalist in the DraftKings MMA contest, and they are doing their live final in Newark for the June 7th card. That's O'Malley Marab 2. That's Kayla Harrison against Pena. There's a couple other really good fights in that card. And Leo reached out to me in Discord this week, and he's like, my significant other, has had something come up, and how would you like to be my +1 for, to sit in the DraftKings suite for that live final? And I'm like, yo, dude, like, thank you so much. So I am going to that, UFC card in Newark. I've been to the last few cards in Newark, and I'm going to this one again. Thank you so much, Leo. And I get to meet some like real legends, in MMA, like Shrek, and McLovin, guys who like, their names. If you play DFS, you see them. So it's going to be a really cool experience across the board. And I cannot thank Leo enough. He said he might tune in here, so hopefully I'm not embarrassing him. But I will be available for the card to do our show. But I'm just so excited that I'm going to actually be attending that June 7th 316 O'Malley Marab 2. That's it.
Absolutely, yeah. No, good shout, Joe. Thank you so much. But that is going to be it for us, unless 3, 2, 1 on those chat hot takes there. Otherwise, I am going to close up shop here and call a close on the UFC 315 RotoWire preview. Thank you all so much for tuning in. We have a little high confidence in a big parlay here, and my little Aldo play there. So if you like that, we're all going to be on Twitter. You can check out my article on RotoWire.com, Drake's article on RotoWire.com. As we mentioned, the optimizer, all stuff. Joe on Twitter at Sun Tzu. And otherwise, that is going to be it for us. We will see you next month otherwise. And good luck, everybody, tomorrow night.
Hey, real quick, shout out to my boy Mad Lab, the new face of Dogger Pass with Dan Tom. Right. Thank you, Mike. Mike is a Jersey guy. Chris, got to shout out the Jersey guy. Mike is a gentleman and a scholar, like for many reasons that I can't go into here. He's one of the sharpest dudes. Definitely check out the new Dogger Pass with Mike and Dan Tom. Like I said, I can't say enough. I caught the last episode. It was very cool. By the way, I'm going to bury the lead here, Mike. I'm sorry. Mike likes Val. Cody likes Val. Paul likes Val. Dan Tom likes Val. So there you go. I like Val. Drake likes Val. So Chris is the dissenting opinion. And let's see if Chris is the genius and we're the dogs. So go Val, baby.
I just, I'm sure if she loses a decision, she's going to complain about it. So we will have that to look forward to. But otherwise, good shouts all around. And as I say, good luck. UFC 315 will all be on Twitter if you want to watch the fights with us. But otherwise, good luck in your contest, and we will see you on the next one.
Peace.